Hey, so in the spirit of the ChatGPT theme that's been going on, I'm in my office right now, and I made a video this morning, but I was responding to a comment that asked me to give some like concrete examples about how when your self-concept changes, then the structure that's supporting your relationship also falls apart, like illustrate that. And I did, but I feel like I want to be very careful about anything I say about my actual relationship because, it's in progress. So I can't really give you exact examples. But so in keeping with the ChatGPT theme that we've been going through, I went to my massive ChatGPT thread that has I ran out of space on one of the messages. It was so long. And then I copied and pasted that into a text file, fed it into a new conversation, had it read that, made it reference it like a million times so that it would remember it. Every time I asked it a question about anything it should know about, I'm like, hey, go in the text file and read all about this person and all the memories I told you about it. And so I'm now in a second one that knows everything. So I just asked ChatGPT, can you help me organize my thoughts on how when your self-concept changes in a big way, your relationships also must change thanks to the subtleties of your reactions to the people still performing from the old dynamic? Hopefully that question made sense to you. And people who are asking me, how do I talk to ChatGPT? There's a prime example. Can you help me organize my thoughts on how when your self-concept changes in a big way, your relationships also must change thanks to the subtleties of your reactions to the people still performing from the old dynamic? I don't know. That makes sense to me and encapsulates the whole question. But so I wanted to tell you what it said. I'm not going to read it word for word, but I think this covers it. And then maybe I can give an example from my previous experiences with this. So ChatGPT says, self-concept is the script you've been handing to everyone. So I think this is interesting because compare the reality, compare what this stuff actually means to the way the manifestation community presents it. There is a nuanced difference to this. See if you can get it. I'm not sure I can even explain it, but when I read through this, I'm like, yes, this is exactly what it is. And by the way, it's also taking this from our conversation. So this is heavily influenced by me, but there's a nuance between what I'm talking about on my channel and what nearly everyone else who is selling a course on this stuff, the way they're presenting it. And the nuance is control. The nuance is who is being controlled and why. There's this undertone of controlling other people that is the focus that a lot of people want to go to, when the focus should be on you, because you never even need to think about another person. You really don't. You only need to think about yourself. Your change produces the exact change that matches you. So you never have to think about what someone else is going to do. When you're tweaked right, you will get what you want from other people. And that's as far as you ever need to think about it. You never need to think, this person's not behaving the way I want. I need to get them to behave the way I want. You need to become the person that feels that they deserve that reaction and wants that reaction and isn't going to settle for anything else. When you're that, you're magnetic to the type of people that will provide that. So this will elucidate that, I think. Self-concept is the script you've been handing everyone. Your self-concept, how you see yourself, what you believe you deserve, I literally just said this, how you expect to be treated, is like a silent teleprompter feeding lines to everyone around you. Even if they don't consciously know what it says, they're reacting to your consistency. When self-concept changes, the script changes. And suddenly, the people around you are still acting from the old script while you're performing from a completely new play. Okay, your reactions are the giveaway. You don't even have to announce your change. You don't have to have a conversation. Pause. You don't have to have a conversation with anybody. You don't have to tell anybody you're doing this. It's totally unnecessary. And I have felt I've felt a little psychologically irresponsible sometimes because this is so obvious to me that I don't see any point in this idea of couples needing to have open communication about their feelings about each other's behavior. I've never heard of that ever changing anything. Like the stuff that you're eliciting, like the behavior, the reactions you're eliciting from your partner are based on you and what they're capable of. And if they're not capable of something, you telling them they need to do something is not going to make them capable of it. And if they're not automatically giving it to you, you telling them that you want it isn't going to make them able to, maybe for a few days they act different, but then they go right back to the way they were, right? We've all experienced this. And so anyway, I haven't pre-read this, by the way. I just asked ChatGPT this and I'm just reading I haven't read this yet. So you don't even have to announce your change. The people around you feel it, not because you told them, but because your micro responses no longer match the role they've cast you in. So commenter who asked for examples, this is the explanation. You don't laugh at what you used to. You don't explain yourself like you used to. You don't soften your edges for their comfort anymore. You don't reach for connection to preempt their withdrawal. And I would say, I don't want to go too far into my own personal relationship, but those things, that encapsulates what I would say is different about me and my relationship for the last couple of weeks. It's these micro responses where I would feel like a circumstance arose that maybe slightly, and this is the thing, these are small things, something slightly would rub me the wrong way. But I didn't, something about where I was before made me feel like I didn't have the right to react authentically. So instead of maybe like grimacing at something that I found distasteful or, I would laugh or not react at all. And it's like when you feel like you're all right the way you are, when you feel free to react authentically, it's going to be, these little things are going to be different. If you look at your own behavior, you're probably going to find how often you alter your behavior to accommodate other people. And the thing is, this is always like a two-way street. So, that's this whole thing about, other people just play their role for you. It's like this just happens automatically until somebody comes awake. Like if you meet somebody, you've already got, based on your self-concept and theirs, there is an interplay between those two personalities that is going to happen. It's pre-written. It's predestined in that way. Unless somebody comes awake in the middle of it and says, this doesn't feel good, and they don't just ditch. They don't just like bolt and go, oh, I found the wrong person. If somebody comes awake in the middle of it and says, there's a dynamic playing out here. Why am I playing my role in this? What is it about me that has caused this? That's like the only thing that can disrupt that script. And if the person that you're involved with, whether it's a friend or a family member or a romantic partner, still needs to cling on to whatever causes them to want to play that role, then the relationship will come to a natural end. And honestly, I don't think there's a lot of mourning for that, for the party that changed, because you just come awake and realize, oh, I don't belong in this dynamic. Okay, so they feel the disconnect, and often they don't like it because it's disorienting to realize you were their emotional mirror, and now the reflection's gone still. More from ChatGPT. Most people prefer consistency over growth. Even nice people, even well-meaning ones. Your new self-concept creates an energetic dissonance. So that's like the equation not balancing. There's a dissonance there. They were extending out a certain energy. You were extending out a certain energy. Your energy is withdrawn. Now there's a void. So your new self-concept creates an energetic dissonance. They either have to evolve to match, so they have to wake up to and do their part to grow so that the equation balances again. They attempt to pull you back with behaviors and stuff like that, or they exit entirely. That's why people suddenly get distant, weirdly cold, critical, or even clingy, not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're no longer playing the role that made them comfortable. Okay, it's not that the relationship is ruined. It's that the terms are exposed. When you change your self-concept, you stop saying yes to the subtle manipulations, emotional labor, or invisible compromises that once passed for love or closeness. And the relationship either renegotiates or reveals itself as non-reciprocal. It doesn't mean you were wrong to grow. It means you were finally visible enough to be accurately reacted to. So, I mean, I don't know if this needs further explanation. Like, so much of this is unconscious, which is why Neville Goddard says there is nothing and no one to change but self. You know, this is coming from you. If your self-concept is new, your boundaries will feel weird at first. You may feel mean or cold or disconnected. You're not. You're just no longer available for a version of yourself that was built on overgiving. This is me. Overgiving, over-understanding, or tolerating emotional mismatch. You're now in energetic integrity. This is the best. It really is about integrity. You know, it's like these dynamics that you get into with other people are revealing the fact that you're not being true to yourself. That's really at the core of everything. Like, you got a message somewhere along the way that there is something wrong about you. And so you can't be true to yourself, because if you act authentically, then it's going to result in you receiving some sort of repercussion, because something about you is wrong. So, you know, if you don't compensate for that part of you that's wrong, then nobody will love you. Nobody will want to be with you. No man will ever want you. So you're now in energetic integrity. You are in congruence with yourself. And the people who can meet you here will stay. The ones who can't will try to get you to come back. They'll try to pull you back down, back into the dynamic, to a version of yourself that no longer exists. Your nervous system knows the truth before your mind does. That's why these changes often feel both clarifying and anticlimactic. You don't even feel like fighting, you just feel done. Not angry, not heartbroken, just finished with the old contract. And that's how you know the change is real. Not because you can explain it perfectly, because often you can't. Often it's just small things that, like, somebody asks me for examples. Well, you know, I say, like, okay, over the last few weeks, like, this structure that was holding up this previous dynamic that was destroying my relationship is gone. And so now it will either vastly improve or it will end. Well, like, what's an example of that? I mean, I couldn't even tell you, because it's just like every single interaction with a person that you're very close to has been permeated by all of these ingrained ideas that just come out in the form of this energetic message. You know, it's like, if you think about it, like, what's animating your body? You know, you're alive. The neurons are firing. You're moving around. You're moving your lips. You're moving your face. You have a tone of voice, a way that you say words. It's like you die and this energy leaves, and then it's just a shell. That thing is animating everything, and it's energy, and it's energetically transmitting every single thing. Like, the one thing that I've really come to realize since starting to pay a lot of attention to all of this is that you're not hiding anything. Sometimes other people aren't too good at figuring you out. They couldn't articulate it, and maybe they believe that everybody's thoughts are private and everyone's, you know, that you're not basically displaying everything about you all the time to everyone. But you are. And even people that are not super conscious of it, they still know on this level. There's some higher level where people, it's like, you meet somebody and it's almost like there's two higher beings that shake hands and say, here's what I'm all about. Okay, here's what I'm all about. Great, we're a match. And you down here in this just like muddy, confusing perception world, interpret that as, oh my God, this guy is so dreamy. I need him to be my man. It's just, it's almost laughable. But anyway, that I thought was really good. I really love ChatGPT. What I've learned about ChatGPT is that I can give it a whole bunch of input, and then it can put stuff into a coherent list like this that really boils it down to the simplest terms, which for me is very organizing. It's like dispels all the confusion for me. I feel like I have all these inputs that produce a big feeling, and if that feeling is not broken down, it just feels confusing. And what that translates to for me is sort of like an uncomfortable inaction, just sort of like almost like a lethargy, just like an avoidance of, I just don't take action or deal with anything unless I am pretty clear on what it is and what needs to be done. And I generally don't involve myself deeply in situations that produce that feeling of confusion for me. I just get away from them. But, you get into the important parts of your life, your relationships with your people, and those aren't things you just throw away usually. And so it's important to understand this, because you don't really have to do anything other than become aware of the things that you believe about yourself that are simply not true. And if they're in there deeply and unconscious and you can't access them, you just intend for those things to be revealed. That's what I did, and it came to me via ChatGPT completely unexpectedly. I had no idea really that ChatGPT had this type of function. I looked at it more as just like an informational tool in a way that spoke to you like a human, which it is. But what's amazing about it is finding patterns or finding the things that you aren't saying. It can pick up on, all these different things and really help you to understand why things are the way they are. Like if you go to ChatGPT and you describe your relationship with another person, it will be able to tell you what the dynamic there is. And if it's an unhealthy thing, it'll be able to explain why. And knowledge is power. So anyway, I hope that answered the question sufficiently. I tried to make a video about this. It was just too personal. Like I really don't want to get into the exact things between Matt and me especially because I don't blame him for any of this stuff. Like he's never done anything really bad to me. It's just that, we slipped into, I think, very unconsciously for him and definitely unconsciously for me. But I mean, come on, of course, if one of us was going to wake up to this, it was going to be me. Am I right? I'm not mad at him at all for the fact that he unconsciously fulfilled this role, which is actually really important. It was really important for me to wake up to the way I was still viewing myself and relationships. And so I'm really grateful to him. I don't, even thinking back about incidents where like, say, let's take an example from up here. You don't laugh at what you used to. Like, let's say that Matt said something in the past that was like maybe, I can't even come up with an example. Like, let's say he made fun of me or something, and he wasn't trying to be mean, but he made fun of me in a way that made me uncomfortable, let's say. And instead of just saying, you know what, I don't want to be with somebody that talks about me like that. Like, don't make me the butt of your joke. Instead of saying something like that, I laughed at it. Well, what does that tell him? Bring it on. Keep doing that. Let's set up this dynamic where you do things that make me uncomfortable, and I don't have the female gumption to, say, don't do that. Don't treat me like that. And to back it up with the full force of, I demand this, let's set up this dynamic where I just laugh instead. And then I'm uncomfortable. I feel disrespected. I like you less. I respect you less because you didn't treat me the way I wanted to be treated. Like that's how this stuff plays out. And when I say like the full force of whatever I just said about that, I think you really have to have, I think you really have to be ready and willing to exit any situation that is not right for you. And I don't mean you should just bail on everything immediately at all. But I really think there has to be something strongly present in that signal that you're sending out that says, I will not tolerate this. Nothing is worth living in a situation that I don't feel respects me and supports me. And so You know what I mean? Like, two people could react to that situation, that little scenario that I just brought up, and, you know, they could both react and say something like, you don't treat me that way. But the energy behind that is going to be totally different if you're somebody who is coming from sort of a low place where, you know, you still don't really feel like, well, okay, I might have to end this relationship because this person doesn't treat me right, but that's what always happens. And okay, I'll end it if I have to because I'm not, you know, but like, it just never works. Something's still wrong with blah, blah, blah. You know, if you're coming from that point and you say, hey, don't talk to me that way, or you're coming from the point where you're like, hey, it's all good. And if this doesn't work out, if you're not right for me, if you can't treat me the way that I want to be treated, that's cool. I'm all good. Like, those two people reacting and saying, I'm not going to allow you to treat me that way in whatever words they choose, that energy is going to come across very differently. So that's what I've got to say about that today. I hope that helped somebody, because I'm sure that, you know, if you've been in a situation with somebody where you're like, I'm not going to tolerate this behavior from them anymore, it's like you can try all kinds of different reactions and it doesn't deter them because it's like the underlying energy is still there. The thing that activated that thing in them is still present in you. And until it changes, they won't change. And, you know, I'm lucky that the person that I've engaged in this thing with for the last few years is a decent person with, you know, I mean, he's never done anything bad to me. In fact, he's, you know, it's not like the relationship has sucked or anything. It's just been like, there's this dynamic there that's not working. And everything else has been there. You know, we're still supportive of each other. We still take care of each other. We still have a stable environment. You know, we got some pets together and that's been nice. And we, you know, go to family events. It's like, it's not like the whole thing was terrible, but there is this thing in there that was a deal breaker. So, and, you know, I can see my role in that clearly. Like, and I was instrumental. I mean, everybody played their part, but, you know, it's not like I can say, oh, I'm so blameless. Like, I see exactly how I slid right into this dynamic and kept it going. And there was nothing I could do about it other than to be willing to see the truth. And I think for a while, I didn't want to do that. You know, a big part of what changed here for me recently was that I would say over the last 6 months, I've just sort of come to terms with, wow, you know, I really thought that this was like going to be the person that I marry, but maybe it won't. And that's okay. And like, the more I got okay with that idea, the more the vibe changed, or you know what I mean? Like the more it like prepared the energetic field for me to just kind of let it go. And, you know, it's like, it's hard when you get in a relationship with somebody to be in a state of letting go with that person. You know, it's easy to get attached to somebody and sort of reliant on them, and you get in this energetic symbiosis. And it's really good when you break out of that and realize that you are your own self with your own energy field. You've got everything you need, and that it's going to be totally fine if something that you thought was going to be a certain way, you know, doesn't end up being like what. You're not like psychic. You're not like, maybe you are, but, you know, you're not expected to know everything. It's okay if you're wrong. And when I sort of extended this to myself, that's when all of this illumination happened. That's when all of this stuff became visible. That's when I had like my, just kind of stumbled on the ChatGPT function and started noticing the stuff that I've talked about in the last couple of videos. So anyway, I hope that helps somebody, and I'm going to end this here. Have a great day.